doing, everybody? And welcome into another episode of Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It is a great Tuesday night here in the great state of Wisconsin. It's getting a little chilly, but the days are nice, and you got to love that. Aaron is not here tonight. I know all you Philly fans out there and everything like that. You're a little upset tonight. I'm sorry. Maybe if he gets done with work, he'll join in tonight. But I got Cody with me tonight here. Been friends with him for a while now. He's joining the show tonight. Big baseball guy. Loves Wisconsin sports, so he wanted to jump in and talk a little bit tonight here. So, Cody, how we doing? Introduce yourself. Tell people a little bit about yourself, and just lead into it.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's been talked about for a while now. I'm happy to be here. I've been a big baseball fan my whole life, really, ever since I was a kid. Always thought I was going to play left field for the Milwaukee Brewers. That didn't work out. But now big baseball fan, watch as much as I can. Garrett Mitchell is the greatest baseball player on the planet, and I will say that as confidently as I can say it. Big Packer fan, love football. Really trying to get into college football a little bit more. But yeah, Badger fan, true and true. Watch them all the time. Happy to be here again, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Love to have you here. We're going to get into a lot tonight. We're going to get into the Brewers a little bit here to top off the show. We want to start it out with the Brewers. They made an exciting for some people, I guess, not for the old regime, but exciting for the new one here. So we're going to talk Brewers today. We got to get into the Bucks because the Bucks will be in action tomorrow night. We definitely got to tap into the Bucks today. I want to talk a little bit of Packers. I want to talk a little bit about that Badger-Penn State matchup coming up this weekend. Daunting on the schedule, but some Badger fans feeling confident leading into that one. So I definitely want to touch into that. We're going to touch a little bit all over today. So right away, I want to look at the big announcement out of the Brewers, and that was new hitting coaches coming into the regime, right? I mean, we went through the days of, I believe, Ozzie Timmons was in there, right? Ozzie Timmons and Connor Dawson were in there. Connor Dawson will remain with the team. So if you're a big Connor Dawson guy, he's staying around. Ozzie Timmons will not. But they did promote two guys from the minor league system. Al LaBouffe is named the team's lead hitting coach. And then we also see Eric Tyson get in there as the additional hitting coach there. So a couple new hitting coaches, not new, right? They're in the minors, right? And, the biggest thing I love about this, and the biggest thing I love was these two guys have made Bryce Terang, made Garrett Mitchell, made Sal Frelick, right? These are the guys that worked with them before they got to the big league level. So, I mean, for me, Cody, I love that move. I love that move by the Brewers. You're getting this young roster, but you're bringing up hitting coaches that have been with these guys, have worked with these guys, built these guys to what we're seeing now. And when they've struggled, they've gone back down to these guys, and they've helped them get right again. So, Cody, what do you think about these moves that the Brewers made here, promoting two minor league hitting coaches up to the big league level?
At first, I was a little shocked to see Ozzie Timmons go because of the consistent hitting that we've seen over the last, year or two, just solid hitting, 1 through 9. I'm really excited to see how these new hitting coaches can do with them at the big league level. I'm a little worried about how is it gonna squash anything in our minor league system, with the development of our bats. Because our pitching is always going to be there. It's the hitting aspect of our team that always kind of seems to pop up, and that's our big problem. So I'm really hoping that these guys can really elevate these players again, at the big league level, and can make them take that next step to become superstars.
No, I agree. And, the biggest thing, you look at the last couple seasons, the way that it's ended, right? You look at the Diamondbacks series that the Brewers had. They couldn't produce runs. That's the biggest thing that killed them. They couldn't produce runs. You look at the game against the Mets. Yes, I know. I blame Devin Williams. That game should have been in the bag. I get that. But you scored 2 runs in that game, right? And in this day and age of baseball, yes, we pay Devin Williams to close down games. That's his job. I understand that, but your closer is going to have a bad day. Your starting pitcher is going to have a bad day. You got to find ways to make up for those runs. The Brewers could not make up for those runs in the biggest moments. And that's something, comes from confidence, comes from the approach to the plate, everything like that. So these are two guys who have helped Bryce Terang. Those guys build that confidence up to get to the big league level. Guys like Garrett Mitchell. And I mean,
Very
Mitchell,
true.
we saw it in the biggest postseason moment that we've seen in a while for the Brewers. You love that. So, I mean, it's definitely an interesting move, like you said, from there. We do have a comment in here. We got it from Northern over there on Twitch. You can't have bad days in the biggest game of the year, though. I said that too. I said that too. I completely agree. It's one of those things, though. You're gonna have bad days, right? Freddie Peralta said it right after that game. He said, Devin Williams has been solid for us at times, right? And he had his worst game and his worst pitch in the worst moment. You honestly look at that changeup that he threw to Pete Alonso. Yes, he hung it. I'm not going to say that it wasn't a hanging changeup, right? But I mean, you look at the amount of home runs that he hit against that changeup. It's a limited amount of home runs. Guys usually don't put that thing in the seats.
And
Pete Alonso put a
yeah,
good swing on a
and the
changeup that
struggling Pete
went on him.
Alonso too. Like, yeah,
I mean, it was one of those moments, right? It was one of those moments, and I agree with you. It's tough to have
right.
bad days in the biggest game of the year. I agree. I 100% agree. And Brewer fans caught themselves saying, right? They're like, well, what if we would have just thrown Freddie Peralta back out there? That's the common theme, right? When something goes wrong, they're like, well, he should have left Freddie out there. Freddie was rolling. Why didn't we leave Freddie out there? Okay, but let's take a step back. Let's take a step back. If Freddie goes out there for the ninth and Freddie gets shelled, right? Freddie gives up that home run. Then what is every single person in Wisconsin saying? Well, why didn't you throw Devin Williams out there? Devin Williams is in the bullpen. Why didn't you throw him out there? I We don't have the answer for that. Nobody has the answer for that. Devin Williams is his biggest problem, and it will continue to be his biggest problem unless somehow he figures it out, right? Getting behind in counts. It's the same with Freddie Peralta. They get behind in counts. They get themselves to a 3-0, right? He got himself to a deep count against Pete Alonso. He had to make a pitch. He left the changeup hang, and Pete Alonso put a good swing on it. He put a great swing on it. Throughout the playoffs, he was hitting home runs to right field. That's what Pete Alonso was doing. Yes, it sucks, but end of the day, you're going to have bad games. And Devin Williams had a bad game in the worst moment.
Big time players make big time plays.
Yep. Yep. And Devin Williams, love him, hate him, whatever you want with him. He has struggled in big moments. He has. And it sucks. It really does. If you really look at the grand scheme of things for the Brewers in the playoffs over the past couple years, right? Closers have lost us games. Josh Hader lost us a game against the Nationals there, right? Well, it went through Grisham's legs, so I can't completely blame Josh Hader for that moment. But, Josh Hader got himself into that situation, and here we go, right? Jeremy Jeffress gives up the home run to Yasiel Puig in the NLCS in Game 7. That changed that game off, right? Closer after closer after closer. We could say, what if Trevor McGill would have been available? Well, you used McGill early in a big spot, right? And I like that move. I like using McGill early in a game for a big spot pitch, but you lose McGill late in games. You didn't have Brian Hudson because you chose to leave Brian Hudson off the postseason roster. Still a questionable decision to me.
A move that we will never know. Yeah, a move that we will never know.
There was something deeper in that story. Something deeper, because I look at Brian Hudson against righties.
There had to have been.
Yes, you look at his stats against righties and lefties. There was no reason why he was left off that postseason roster. His stats against righties and lefties were great throughout the season. You put him against a righty, I think guys were batting like under 250 against him. They were batting to under 250. So I don't understand the reasoning behind. There had to be something else. Like, did he not have his sweeper back to full strength, right? Because, he went down to the minors. It was a questionable move already, but they said, well, his velocity was down. Okay, I understand that. I understand that his velocity was down. But at the same time, when he was coming back, what was the stipulation of why he couldn't come back in? I don't know. I don't know. That's the biggest question that I guess we never had answered, except for the fact of there was a lot of righties in the Mets lineup. We didn't want to use him there. He was possibly going to be on the roster if they would have got to the Phillies. We will never know. We will never know if that would have happened there. Oh, we got a couple other ones from Northern there. He says hashtag hate him. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not through that depression yet. And then he also says Freddie could have at least started the 8th. He only threw 5 pitches in the 7th. He pitched I believe he pitched the eighth. I'm pretty darn sure he pitched the eighth. He pitched right before Devin Williams. He set up Devin Williams there.
I think it was the ninth. It was the ninth inning. Yeah, he came in the ninth. That's when Devin came in. Was in the ninth.
Yes. I'm pretty sure Freddie
Then he
threw
worked
in
himself
the eighth.
into some trouble, and then yeah.
I mean, you could have, and to his point, maybe he's thinking about it wrong, but you could have started him in the ninth. Yes, yes. I will not deny that. You could have started him in the ninth. That's definitely a good point. Like, I believe that's what he was. Yes,
Kind of
he just went back and he said, "Oh crap, yeah, that's right. Sorry." He's trying to. He says he's trying to block out the trauma here. I get it. I'm with you there. I don't even want to talk about it too much here. But I mean, I get it. I do agree if you meant it the other way, I do agree that you were if you wanted to throw him out in the ninth, you could have thrown him out in the ninth for a little bit. But Pat Murphy,
especially because he only threw like 60, wasn't it like 68 pitches in game one? I think that's what it was.
And then he threw he threw like 5 to 10 pitches in that eighth inning, and he was guns a blazing. And I mean, that was a moment.
It was under 10. Yeah.
You know, when he was coming in, when Freddie was coming in, I saw across Brewer, on Facebook, everywhere, they're like, why are you bringing Freddie in? This is such a dumb move, right? This is such a dumb move. He's going to get shelled, this and that. And I sat there and I thought to myself, I was like, this is a moment he needs. This is a moment he needs. He needs this because at that moment, I was like, we're going to the NLDS. I was in that kind of mode then, right? And I was like, he needs this moment because you want him feeling himself going into that series against the Phillies. And getting him in there like he was, lights out, you love that. But it's set up so perfectly. I mean, Pat Murphy played, he managed that game so perfectly. And to this day, I say that the Brewers didn't lose that game. Devin Williams lost that game. I 100% say that. But it's set up so perfectly, and Devin Williams had a crappy game in a crappy spot, and it just sucks. It just sucks. So I want to be done talking about that. I want to be done talking about that. We see the Brewers announce 2 new hitting coaches for 2025.
I concur.
We see the Brewers 2 new hitting coaches 2025. That's all we want to get into the Brewers there. Thank you, Northern, for bringing up some crappy feelings inside of us there about the Brewers. I want to get over that. I want to get over that and move on with life here.
Brother Trajan.
So let's get into the World Series matchup, right?
Yeah.
Let's get into the World Series. Let's talk World Series matchup. We have the Yankees, sadly, right? We got the Yankees and we have the Dodgers. This is the World Series that MLB wanted, that Japan wanted, and if you ask ESPN guys, they say that fans wanted, but I'll be honest with you, unless if you live in LA or unless if you live in New York, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like I think I saw a map. I think there was a map that said, who's cheering for who, and it was like an LA portion that was in blue, and then it had Yankees blue up in New York, and then it said the sky would fall for the rest of the nation. Like that's what it is. I mean, basically nobody else cares. Like it's just those two and then Japan. That's the only ones in on it. So Northern says Dodgers in 4. I mean, I would be okay. So we have
a solid bet. I mean, you could put.
We have 2 evils. We have the Yankees. Yeah. We have the Dodgers. They're both evil in my mind. I don't like either one of them, but we have to pick one of them here, right? So we don't like the Yankees. We don't like the Dodgers. But I think I like the Yankees less than I like the Dodgers, right? I don't think I like the Yankees at all. I like Aaron Judge. Don't get me wrong. I think I like Aaron Judge. Like Aaron Judge, solid guy, good ball player. Like if he wasn't on the Yankees, I think I'd like him more. Juan Soto absolutely irritates me. Anthony Rizzo played for the Cubs.
He seems like he's a cool dude. Yeah.
Right. Anthony Rizzo, no matter where he goes, he played for the Cubs, so I still dislike him. Like that's just a thing that's stamped on his back at this point. I don't like Garrett Cole. I don't like many guys on the Yankees, just to be honest with you. Dodgers, I like Freddie Freeman. Like Freddie Freeman's cool. Let's see. Shohei, I don't know. I'm still not convinced that he didn't gamble and throw his translator underneath the bus, so I'm not completely sold on the Shohei Ohtani deal there. Let's see. I like Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts.
We're going there.
Mookie Betts is a solid dude. So, I mean, Cody, what are we thinking? Yankees, Dodgers, who do you like? Why do you like them? And what do you think? 7-game series here. What are we predicting here? Northern says that he likes Shohei and Judge, and he says that we like to see I don't even know how to Stantonian home run. I like that. That's going to be the new thing. I like
Stantonian.
Santonian. That's a big word. Like, I didn't think I could pronounce that at first. That was gonna be a big one there. But Cody, what are you thinking? World Series matchup, Yankees Dodgers. Who do you got? How many games? Who do you think's coming out of this one?
I honestly, I mean, when you look at the rosters here, right? When you try and balance it out, I mean, the Yankees probably go get their one with Garrett Cole, and I think that's probably about it. I mean, there's only so much that Aaron Judge and Soto can do. So I mean, I'm gonna take probably Dodgers in 5, I would say, and I don't think it's gonna be close either. I really think, as much as I really want to see a good World Series, but believe me, I would love to see a World Series that goes. I'd love to see extra innings, Game 7. I'd love to see it, but at the end of the day, the Dodgers. I mean, you look at their roster 1 through 14, man. I mean, then you look at all their pitching too. It's kind of unfair at this point. I mean, there really needs to be some sort of limitation on how much money you can spend, because it's pretty clear now that the teams with the most money make it the furthest.
Yep.
So
no, I agree.
But to answer your question, Dodgers in 5.
Dodgers in 5. Northern says that the Yankees don't have a great rotation, just a crazy offense. I think, honestly, to your point about the Yankees there, Aaron Judge has struggled in this postseason. I think he's batting a good whopping 161 on the postseason here. He's got 6 RBIs, 2 home runs. So he's still hitting home runs, but outside of that, he's not doing much for you. So if you want to compete in this World Series against a Dodgers lineup, like you guys, like Northern said there, like you're talking there with Dodgers lineup being absolutely loaded, seemingly unfair, I agree. But, I mean, Aaron Judge has got a hit for you. Because you look at the rest of this lineup, you cannot bank on guys like Gleyber Torres to keep carrying. He's batting 297 in the postseason. You can't bank on Giancarlo Stanton whacking home runs every time he's up there. I mean, it's Stantonian home runs. Like, we can't bank on that if you are the Yankees. You need Aaron Judge to come through for you. Juan Soto is batting 333. He's carrying his weight. Juan Soto is. Aaron Judge has got the Yankees to this point. Well, not in the postseason, but he's gotten the Yankees to this position going into the postseason, but he struggled mightily. So that's going to be a big thing in this series to see what he can do for you. I know Anthony Rizzo is actually batting well, 429 in the postseason. He's only got 5 games in the postseason, but he's batting 429, so you like that. If you're a Yankee fan, Rizzo kind of showing up a little bit there. But the lack of pitching is going to be the thing that I think kills the Yankees in the end of this.
Yeah.
Dodgers, the Mets played that game. That series was crazy because no game was decided by less than 4 runs or something like that. Like, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous stat for a series.
Yeah. And when you look at both the pitching stats too, and it's just like ridiculous too. Like every game had a good starter. Yeah, like it just doesn't make sense how every game was, Dodgers by 40. Mets by 40. Like, it was an interesting series.
No, completely agree. And like you guys are both saying there, I think it is going to come down to pitching staff. And I just think the Dodgers, they don't have, it's not like a Dodgers pitching staff that absolutely scares you anymore. I mean, they Jack Flaherty's in there. Yamamoto's been pitching decent for him there, but not great. But Flaherty's been knocked around a little bit in the postseason. So is Yamamoto. Bueller's pitching well. You could say he's pitching well in this postseason, but not outstanding. They did go through a stretch without giving up runs, so that was, not what they expected. But yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Dodgers there. I like the Dodgers in this series. I'm going to say in 6. I think the Yankees will. Will find a way to. If the Yankees are going to win a couple, it's going to be high scoring games. I think it's going to be a really high scoring game, like a back and forth battle. Yeah. And I think it's going to come down to Stantonian,
where they rely on Giancarlo Stanton to hit a couple home runs. Yep.
I agree.
Yep, Stantonian home runs.
It's going to be banking on it. It's going to be banking on it. But that's what I think this series is going to come down to. If Aaron Judge can get going for the Yankees.
And those games that the Yankees do win. Those games that the Yankees do win are going to be very exciting to watch.
Yes.
Because it's going to be, a lot of juice from Aaron Judge. He's going to show up one game. I know he is. I mean,
At short
the big
porch,
time players, they show up at least once, but the best.
I agree. I think it's gonna be that short porch in Yankee Stadium. That's
those 299 home runs.
Yeah, that's gonna definitely benefit some teams there. So I like that. Good spot to stop there with the World Series talk. We got all Dodgers, but different set of games there. So we'll see who's right in that one there. But right away, before we get, I want to talk some Badgers, Penn State. But before we get there, I'm going to jump over. We got a little bit of a clip from one of our guys. He does our hockey talks for us. He wasn't able to jump on tonight for the live video, but he sent us in a video here that we're going to watch. He's going to recap the men's and women's hockey games from last week there. A little nervous leading up to it there. So it's a great video. Confident. He's working on it. Right. So we love this guy over here. We're going to get to Hunter here with our hockey report. We'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hunter Steinoff with Wisconsin Sports on the Go, covering Badger women and men's hockey. Today I'm just giving you a little weekend recap. Starting with the men's. The men's played Ohio State at the Kohl Center, and they got swept. On Friday night, they lost a close one in overtime, 1-2. Wisconsin got off to a good start by Rylan Mosley, transferred from Michigan Tech, scoring on a power play goal early in the first. That was assisted by freshman Gavin Morrissey and sophomore Quinn Finley. However, Ohio State answered back with 2 goals, one in 20 seconds left in the first, and then the last one, 20 seconds left in overtime, or less than 20 seconds for both. And that was actually by Heartland, Wisconsin native Max Montez. On Saturday, Ohio State struck first, scoring just 21 seconds into the game, and then adding another goal a minute and 1 second into the third. The Badgers did manage to get on the board with a goal from Quinn Finley with 11 minutes and 43 seconds left in the third. But it wasn't good enough. Logan Turness saved 37 of 38 shots for Ohio State on Friday, while Tommy Scarflin saved 21 of 23 for Wisconsin. Christopherson Elberly had a great game on Saturday, saving 28 of 29 shots, while William Graham stopped 18 of 20 for the Badgers. Despite the losses, Wisconsin continued to dominate the face-off circle, winning an impressive 61.9, almost 62% of the face-offs this season. And they're looking to bounce back next weekend against Denver. Wisconsin has outshot their opponents 148-79. That's 69 more shots than their opponents, including a 46-23 advantage in the third period. Head coach Mike Cassidy mentions the lack of effort and not buying in. So clearly there's some guys in the locker room who don't want to play his style of hockey and just waiting for them to buy in and start winning. Wisconsin is 7 for 148 on shots. That's 4% shot percentage. They got to find a way to score some more goals here. Opponents are 10 for 79, and that's 12% of their shots. That's 1 for every 10. That's just not acceptable for Wisconsin hockey. And then also just piggybacking off of the 20 seconds left in the first and 20 seconds left in overtime, I feel like this isn't the only time that Badgers have struggled in the past 2 years with being flat-footed and getting caught late. Play the last 20 seconds, finish the period, and things are different going into the locker room. Now on to the women's. Women's played over in Minnesota against little brother, the Gophers. Badgers are number 1, Minnesota's number 3. It was a sweep for the Badgers. Friday night, the Badgers absolutely dominated, 5-0. Goals came from 5 different players, and Ava McNaughton was an absolute brick wall in goal, having an 18-shot shutout. On the other side, Skylar Vetter started for the Gophers, saving 20 of 25, and Hannah Clark came in and she stopped 2 of 2. Saturday, it was a bit closer. It was a 4-3 win, but the Badgers were down 3-1 in the third. No scoring was in the first, but the Badgers got 1 in the second, and the Gophers got 3. But Wisconsin came back strong in the third, scoring 3 unanswered goals. Hannah Helverson, she tied it up just 4 minutes and 42 seconds in the third. So shots were falling quick. And then Casey O'Brien scored the game winner with 6 minutes and 8 seconds left on the clock. 6:08. Ava McNaughton saved 26 of 29 shots, while Hannah Clark saved 25 of 29 for Minnesota. Overall, the women's Badger hockey team has outscored their opponents 55-9 in just 8 games.
A great recap there from Hunter from the weekend's action. That was great. That was awesome. That was an awesome video there. He sent it in to us. We made sure to get on there. Great video. He's gonna have his recap of the weekends for us here. So we'll get them on Sundays from now on. He's gonna have his kind of midweek report about Wisconsin hockey on Tuesdays, and then he's gonna get the weekend preview there on Fridays. So we'll make sure we're getting Hunter's videos in there because that was a great video there from Hunter. So Cody, I want to get into this Badger matchup against Penn State because there is a lot of nervousness, wondering what could be kinds of things leading up into this game, right? And I mean, it's everybody's true with it because we're watching this Badger team. They've had 3 straight wins, 3 straight good wins, right? Not great opponents, but good wins at the same time, right? They roll Purdue. Nobody knew what to expect at Rutgers because that was a 4-1 team when they played at Rutgers. Badgers roll Rutgers in Rutgers. And then they go down to Evanston where they usually struggle and they find a way to pull one off there. So expectations have almost changed for this Badger team, right? You had your first 2 early games against subpar teams. You kind of struggled there. You played a decent first half against Alabama. I'm not saying that you played a good game against Alabama, but you stuck with them for a little bit there, which told you a little bit about the Badgers. USC, heartbreak. You had to lead at the half, ended up blowing that game. Maybe should have been a win at the end of the day, but we moved past it, right? You're 2-2. You have this stretch of games where like, okay, now we're going to see what the Badgers are made of. We want to see them roll against Purdue, a very struggling team in Purdue, right? We want to see a good game against Rutgers. We want to see them go down to Evanston and stick it to them. They did all those things. They checked all those boxes for us. So now we have this game against Penn State. You have a 5-2 team in Wisconsin. You have an undefeated Penn State in Camp Randall under the lights. For me, leading up into this game, I didn't know what to expect after that game against USC. This part of the schedule became daunting. But now I lead up into this game against Penn State, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, if the Badgers play a game, right, a full game, competitive game, if we lose 27-24, I'm good. Like, I walk away from that thinking to myself, the Badgers are working towards something, right? Now, if Penn State comes in here and they just completely steamroll Wisconsin on their home turf after the Badgers just played some good football over the past couple of weeks, okay, now perspective changed. Now we're like, okay, there's a fine line and there's tiers, right? We're not even close to that top tier. If you can find a way to play a competitive game against a Penn State team who's 6-0, they have some pretty good players on this team. I mean, Aller's playing well. Warren, their big tight end. We're going to have to find a way to play defense against that guy. He's big. I mean, he's a big fella. He leads them in receptions. They're 40 receptions on the year already. He's a great player there from Penn State. But, I mean, man, the momentum's there. Everything's there. It's under the lights. Cody, going into this game, I guess, what are your expectations for the Badgers? And coming out from this game, how do you feel about this Badger team in a win or a loss? What's it got to be for you to make yourself, buy into what's going on in Madison right now?
So that was a lot. That was a lot in that question there, Trajan. But I going into this game, I'm feeling confident. I feel more confident than I should be. But because Drew Aller, he's gonna be playing on Sundays one day. I mean, he's got that look to him. And Penn State's playing good football right now. There's no denying that. It's going to be a really tough game. We're going to have to come out here. I think we really got to establish the run early. And I feel like that has been a problem, right? Am I wrong there?
For Wisconsin or for
I don't feel like, you know, for Wisconsin. Yeah, for Wisconsin. I feel like, getting the ball going on the ground has kind of been a struggle.
It was, and then it wasn't, right? It was early on in the season getting that going against good teams and finding a way to get it going against a team like Alabama, getting it going in those games there. But over the past couple of weeks, I mean, the transition of the offensive line has been huge. The
Yes,
offensive line stepping up in big spots to open up holes for Tyree Walker in this offense, even guys like Braden Locke to get out and use his legs a little bit. It's been huge. It's been huge for Wisconsin.
but can it translate into a bigger matchup? I feel like over the last two, with Rutgers and Purdue, and Northwestern, right? That was who we played last week, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like over the last 3 weeks, we played very good football, and I've been very, very proud and happy to watch the product that Madison has been putting onto the field. I just hope that it can translate into a game like this, because the way we have been playing good football. We have been, doing the little things right to, in a sense, dominate. But, those were against, in my eyes, lesser opponents to Wisconsin,
Yeah.
So this week against Purdue, it's going to be a tough battle, very, very tough battle. And I think if I going out of this game a loss, right? If it was a loss, I would really like to see that never give up, never die attitude from this Badger unit. The playing all four quarters thing. I think that's really what we need to accomplish in this game, is to play a solid 4 quarters of football.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's a big thing that the Badgers have struggled with against good teams, right? You look at that game against Alabama, and I watched that game. If anybody watched that game, yes, they got blown out. If you look at the final score, they got blown out. But you look at that first quarter and you say to yourself, they stood toe to toe right off the bat with Alabama. That game against USC, it was a half by half game. They came out and they sucker punched USC, and then all of a sudden USC came back. They got up, they sucker punched them back, and the Badgers laid down and died. Like, that's all you can say. They laid down and died. And that's exactly what we're talking about there, where you're saying you want to see them come out and never have that never say die attitude. That's what you got to have in a matchup like this, because in big games, in these big matchups, you're going to, if you lay the first punch, you're going to get punched back, right? I mean, you watch that game, you look at good teams like Oregon, and they faced Ohio State. That was sucker punch after sucker punch, right? You got to be able to take the sucker punch and go back at it. That's the biggest thing. And the Badgers got to find a way in this game against Penn State. I mean, expectations for this Badger team, I think they changed. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they changed, because we watched those first two games where they struggled with bad teams. You watch the second two against Alabama and USC, and you're like, oh boy, like, this ain't trending in the right direction. This looks rough. The locker room, I worry about the locker room. I worry about players. Then Chez Malusi's done for the year. He's walking away to try to, get healthy, everything like that. You understand things like that. And Tyler Van Dyke gets banged up. And you're like, what are we going to do now? We're out. We don't have Tyler Van Dyke. We don't have Chez Malusi. What's going to happen? Tyree Walker starts playing well. Braden Locke's been playing well. I mean, stepping into a new role as a starting quarterback there. He's been playing well. I mean, in this game, I guess the biggest thing I want to see out of Locke is his decision making needs to be better. It needs to be better, because he goes, we always talk about with Jordan Love. He always makes those 2 throws or so throughout a game where you're like, why? Why'd you make that throw? Braden Locke has those same moments, right? It's a young guy. It's a young guy who's still learning, and he has those moments where, I mean, you'll sit there and you watch him. You're like, where was he throwing that? And you're sitting here talking to yourself. You're like, I don't think he knows where he was throwing that. So it's one of those things with Braden Locke where he needs to come to the understanding with himself there that, hey, I don't need to always try to go for the big play. There's moments in a game where, hey, you might send Vinny Anthony out, you might send CJ Williams deep or whatever it is, and you might send these guys all deep, but you don't have to throw that football. Throw it out of bounds. If it's first down and you're just trying to start a drive off with a big play, throw it out of bounds. Think about those. It's those little things throughout a game that I think Braden Locke is slowly adjusting to, and I think he'll get there. I think he will over time here, but it's going to take a lot, right? And we listened to Tressel talk about the defense the past couple weeks here.
Yeah.
And he said, this defense, we've been playing fast, and it's been helping us out throughout, the Rutgers and the Northwestern and the Purdue. And he said, Penn State, they're going to try to speed us up too, right? They're going to try to throw different motions at us. They're going to try to get us all out
Yep.
of sorts. We have to play our game. That's the biggest thing. The Badgers have to play their game. Don't try to, if Penn State comes out guns a-blazing in this game, hits one to Warren for like 60-yard touchdown, don't try to bounce back and throw an explosive play yourself. Start it out with the run game. Get Tyree Walker.
Play your brand of football.
Yes,
Yep.
Utilize the run game. Utilize that big offensive line, the run makers. Make those things happen first. The explosive plays will come. You open up the defense, the explosive plays will come. And that's what the Badgers have done well in these past couple weeks. I mean, yes, Purdue is a subpar opponent, and, Rutgers has got their own issues. I mean, Northwestern, they have a solid front seven. Those two linebackers from Northwestern, they're very good. I mean, those two linebackers.
And they usually whoop on us.
Yes. And that was a big thing leading up into that game was Fickle kept talking about it. He's like, this last year's game where we got trounced at our own place, they controlled the trenches. Badgers went down there with a different kind of motivation. They controlled the trenches. So that's something you love. So in this game, like you were talking about, establishing the run game, it's going to be about controlling the trenches on both sides of the football, getting pressure on Aller, making him make bad decisions. You have a very good secondary behind you. Hallman, Wohlers back there, Delancey. You have a very good secondary in Wisconsin. Let them eat. Do your thing to put pressure on Aller, make that thing happen. I mean, expectations for this game, I'm not sitting here saying the Badgers are going to win this game. I'm not sitting here saying that. I'm not a betting man, but the Badgers right now, I believe
but if we play a solid 4 quarters, there's a chance.
There's a chance, right? There's a chance. I always say, if you can get to the third quarter, to the end of the third quarter in a tight game against any team, jump around means that much more. And it changes the game. It does. Jump around in the third quarter when it's in a meaningful game where, both teams are guns a-blazing. It's 27-24. That gets the players hyped. When it's 27-10 and you're losing that ball game, jump around doesn't do anything for you. It actually motivates the other team more than it does for you. So this is a game where, like you were talking, playing a full game, the Badgers got to play a full game in this one. So that's what we're waiting to see. We can't wait to see it. This is going to be a big-time matchup. We're going to get more into it on Friday when we get into our weekend preview show. We're going to be talking Penn State, Badgers, keys to the game, everything like that. We're going to get into it on Friday here on the show. So let's get into a little bit of Packer talk, right? We've been loving what we've been seeing out of the Packers over the past couple weeks. We got to get into a little bit of Packers today.
We've been loving.
I agree.
We've been loving it. We've been loving it right now,
and we've been loving one guy named Jeff Hafley, because Jeff Hafley in this last game against the Texans, he almost took a little bit of I don't know. I'm watching the replay of the Packers-Texans game right now, and you loved what you saw out of Hafley in this defense, but I loved what Hafley did with utilizing his defense, utilizing his guys, throwing different looks at CJ Stroud, right? Like a Brian Flores would do. He has 8 guys up on the line. You have no idea where the pressure is coming from. And he had Rashawn Gary roving. He was roaming the middle of the field. I mean, I'm watching plays of Rashawn Gary. He's not coming off the edge all the time. Yeah, he's not coming off the edge all the time. He's coming up the middle. Like, all of a sudden, he's coming up the middle, and then he's coming on the side. You love that because it utilizes Rashawn Gary's strength, right? Getting through a line. He's fast, right? He's fast. He's big. He can get through a line. So you're utilizing Rashawn Gary in different roles. That's something that I guess might help Rashawn Gary. He struggled this year. He has struggled mightily this year, getting in the backfield, getting hits, everything like that. This last game out against CJ Stroud, he was in the backfield. He's chasing Stroud around all game long. Stroud's like trying to run for his life away from Rashawn Gary. I love what I've been seeing out of Jeff Hafley. I mean, what have you liked about this defense? Are there key players you've liked? Anything like that has just, caught your eye with this Packers defense right
now? I mean, where do I even begin? Honestly, it's been. I mean, we always knew we had the dogs on defense. We always knew we had the guys to make plays, to do the things that they're doing now. Joe Barry just had no idea how to utilize them. And now you get a guy who is coming from a college background, was working with young kids, working on getting them to that next level of the NFL, utilizing all their talents. I mean, now you bring him in and he's utilizing, I mean, Rashawn Gary he has been struggling up to this game against the Texans, but to see him in the backfield all game was just, oh, it made me feel good, that we didn't waste all that money, because, oh man, he had CJ scared all game, and it was awesome to see, and I really, really like how he's been getting our secondary to just be ball hawks. I mean, Xavier McKinney. I mean, this guy. If he's not picking the ball off, he's swatting it away, making a play, making a tackle. I'm pretty sure I saw a 29 in the backfield making a sack this weekend too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's Jeff Hafley. That is Jeff Hafley utilizing everybody, all 11, all of their talents. It's been awesome to watch. I love it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, Rashawn Gary, 6 pressures, 3 hurries, 2 quarterback hits, and 1 sack in the game. You'll take that every day of the week. Northern there over on Twitch, he says if Gary was chasing me, I'd be running for my life too. I agree. I mean, I'd be running for my life too. I'd be trying to get the heck out of there. That's a big fella coming through there. I mean, he played well, and that's utilizing him to his strengths. Jeff Hafley deployed him in a very good way in this game. And there's a stat out there. Second half points allowed by the Packers defense. Week 1, they gave up 17 points in the second half. Week 2, they gave up 10. Week 3, 7. Week 4, 3. Week 5, 6. Week 6, 3. And then week 7, 3 points again. That is, I mean, second half dominance, right? You're talking about a defense who they had their backs against the wall multiple times against the Texans, right? The Packers there was a couple weeks there where the Packers offense has put the defense in bad spots. And, actually, I want to give props to Daniel Whelan, because Whelan has bailed the Packers out of some bad spots, too, by flipping the field. That guy's been impressive in the punter room. I know we don't give a lot of props to punters all the time, but he's been impressive punting.
Whelan is a stud.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to find a good punter. Yeah. It's hard to find a good punter who can flip the field. And you don't notice things like that, right? You don't notice things about punters until you don't have a good one, and then all of a sudden teams are starting at the 50-yard line, or they're starting at their own 40. You got to have a good punter who can flip that field. That's what the Packers have right now in Daniel Whelan. So I know it's not a big storyline to talk about a punter or anything like that, but he is a big necessity to what the Packers do, because when the offense can't find a way to get the ball past the 20-yard line, if a guy can flip a field for you and set the defense up a little bit better, you love that. So I love what I've been seeing out of Daniel Whelan there. I mean, Romeo Doubs against the Texans. 8 catches for 94 yards, 6 first downs. He caught 4 for 5 contested catch opportunities, 2.97 yards per route run, 23 yards on a catch on game's first play, and then he had 2 catches on the final drive to set up that big field goal to win it there for McManus. So that's a guy stepping up big time in a big moment, is Romeo Doubs, and that's what he does. I mean, he's got hands. He's your hands guy, right? Reed's your blow it off the top. Watson's your blow it off the top. Wicks can blow a defense away. Doubs is the guy who I can send him across the middle, and he's going to make a catch for him. Like some of those balls that Love threw late in that game, I'm like watching him whistle it out there, and I'm like, oh boy. Like it's a hot missile. It's like looks like it's gonna clear Romeo's head, and he kind of just sticks the hands up there and he calls it in. That last one he had on that slant route late, gets first down. I was like, oh my, like that was nervousness, but I mean, you love it.
He goes and gets the football.
He does. And Northern says there, Love can keep throwing all the picks he wants if our defense keeps it up. That's a hot topic right now. That's a hot topic. Love's interception ratio to what he's,
that is a very hot topic.
It leads the NFL, but so does Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes has got 8 interceptions. Like, okay, so now you're putting him in a category with Patrick Mahomes. Okay, good. Like, I want that. Like, that's great for me. Like, if you're putting Jordan Love and Patrick Mahomes in the same sentence with that, I mean, we're in the sentence with touchdowns too, because he's got 15 touchdowns to go along with it. Yes, I don't love the interceptions. I don't love the interceptions. But you live and die with it sometimes, and you just hope that the decision making. Okay. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this about Jordan Love throwing interceptions. It's the ones where it's he had one to Bo Melton, I believe it was in the game before the Texans. and Melton slipped. You can't do anything about that, right? That's like an accidental. If you're throwing late in the game and you're trying to make something happen, okay. It's the one where he throws it and there was no need, right? Triple coverage. There was no need for that ball to be thrown. This guy was never open. That's the one that makes you like, okay, there's a fine line and you're hovering it right now. So I'm okay with the interceptions, but at the same time, you want to see them just try to clean it up a little bit, play a little bit cleaner football, and just, roll it, because you will have games. I know the interceptions haven't hurt yet, but there will come a time where you're in a tight game against, let's just say you get into the playoffs against.
There will be a time where they do hurt. Yep.
Yes, like the Lions, right? That's a very good defense. Points are at a premium when you play the Lions. You can't afford those kinds of situations and stuff like that. So, there's times and places to be a gunslinger. The throw to Kraft in the back of the end zone it gotta be one of the greatest throws / catches that I've seen in a while. Like, that was humming. Kraft lays completely out. I was talking about hands before. I don't know who's got better hands, Romeo Dobbs or the guy that talks about burning people's houses down, because I saw Kraft in an interview and he said that he burned, like, that's what he tells guys for trash talk, is he's going to burn their house down or something. Like, this dude's like a different kind of animal, but like, this guy's got hands. Like, he's got hands.
He's a demon. Yeah, he is a demon. Yeah.
He is. He is. He's a dangerous
he is a problem. Yeah.
He is a dangerous fella. I will agree with you there. So, one last thing with the Packers, and then I want to get to a little bit of Bucs talk for the day here. One last thing with the Packers, and that is Jair Alexander, okay? Because this is another storyline that keeps popping up there. Jair likes to talk. We know this. He likes to talk. He likes to create enemies of everybody when he's on a football field, right? He's got his thing with Justin Jefferson. He's got his thing with Stephon Diggs, right? We saw it before the Packers and Texans game where the whole team was going to take on Stephon Diggs, right? I catch myself there because I want Jair to be a dog. Like, I want him to be that guy who gets underneath the people's skin. And he does. He gets under Stephon Diggs' skin. I know he's still under Justin Jefferson's skin. I don't care what Jefferson says. He is still underneath his skin there. So, to you don't want Jair to stop being Jair. But is there a fine line that Jair has to avoid crossing, I guess? I guess if it comes back to bite, right? That's the big thing, is if it comes back to bite, we get a flag or something like that for it. Is there a fine line that Jair has to avoid? You don't want him to stop talking, right?
Absolutely not. And I think if it reaches, remember a couple of years ago when Quay Walker, when he came into the league and he was making those bonehead moves that were just like, oh, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? And Jair's never taken it to that level though. He likes to get under their skin and stay there as long as possible until they do something about it. And I think Jair, at the end of the day, if he's not letting it affect his play by any means, by all means, go for it.
Yeah.
Talk.
Yeah, no, I agree. And
do it. I love to see it, honestly. It sets the tone for the day, and it really it lets everybody know how the game is going to go. Because I felt like from the second Diggs and Jair were barking at the tunnel, I knew it was going to be a ball game from the start.
Yeah. No, yeah, you like that. It fires up a team, and honestly, it fired up the crowd too. The crowd was into it after that. The team was into it. Everything that was happening on the field, they were trash talking. They were going at each other on sidelines everywhere. It was awesome. And Jacob, he says in the comments there, you got to have me on here sometime. Jacob, you got something for me? Like, you can shoot me in the comments there. You can tell me what you're thinking, Packer-wise, Bucs-wise, Badger-wise. You can always shoot it to me there in the comments there. I'd love to hear from you. We're hoping at one point we can get some kind of call-in line going on or something on the show here. We're hoping to get a call-in line so that way people can call into the show. They can tell us what they're thinking and everything like that. We think that'd be awesome. But Jacob, we'd love to hear what you got to say. We'd love to hear what you have to say about Packers, Badgers, Bucs, whatever it is. We'd love to hear what you got out there. So make sure you are commenting in on everything that you're thinking right now. But what do you think? Time to get into the Bucs here? Time to get into the Bucs possibly?
Wait, hold on. I got one more thing on the Packers, real quick.
One more thing
Can
on
I
the
say
Packers.
one
All
more
right, all
thing?
right.
We didn't talk about it. All right, my bad.
No, you're
How
good. You're
about
good.
I going into this year, that big free agent signing, right? There was McKinney and there's Josh Jacobs, right? How about our boy getting that first receiving touchdown, that first career receiving touchdown under his belt? Can we just acknowledge that for a second? Because congratulations to Josh Jacobs, because
Isn't that something?
I was waiting
Isn't that
for it all
something?
year. I was waiting for it, and I was just happy to see my guy get his first career receiving touchdown. I thought this long of a
Jacob, we'll
career in
get
the
to your
NFL,
question in
no
one
receiving
second. We'll get to
touchdown,
your question in
crazy.
1 second there. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that Josh
Right,
Jacobs
you're
got his
good.
first receiving touchdown. I couldn't believe that it was actually his first one. I'm gonna be honest with you. I couldn't believe that was his first receiving touchdown in the NFL. That was wild. Like I didn't expect that. It was a stat that when they put it up there, I was like, whoa. Like I can't believe that was his first one. But okay, that's awesome. Like I'm glad. I was happy
Yeah.
for him. Like congratulations to Josh Jacobs. Like that was an awesome feat to get there. Jacob, he's got one last thing, I guess, about the Packers and Bucks. This will twist it into two. He says Giannis on the Packers. What position would he play? Giannis on the Packers. What position? I mean, the first thing that jumps to mind, I guess, would be wide receiver. Like that'd be. I mean,
Probably.
Giannis's height
Yeah, I would
and
assume.
jumping ability, like he would be a dynamite wide receiver. Probably shut down.
Tight end came to mind right away, but I don't think he could block very well against a
Tight end would be
385-pound defensive lineman.
Let's see. Where else? I mean, he's too big to be he's too big to be like a cornerback. So Matthew says back there, he says water boy. Hey, every team's got a good water boy. You have to have somebody be a good. He could be the fastest, tallest water boy that's ever been out there. Northern says similar to the Great Khali in the longest yard. Yeah. A little less math, though. I mean, he's got a little less math, I guess, than the Great Khali, but I agree with you there. Jacob,
I'm glad you came back. Now I don't have to stab you.
He's got a second question there. He says, should we make a move before the trade deadline for a big name? Should we or will we? Those are two different questions there. Will we? Probably not. Because we love draft picks. We love holding on to draft picks. Goody loves working through the draft. Should we? I think there's definitely some improvement that could be made to the Packers, right? I think we have struggled in the pass rush department this season. Now, this last game, they looked a lot better, so that changes a lot of perspective. But that was one game, right? You got to see it over a consistent amount. I've seen names like Newsome from the cornerback from the Browns there. The Browns will probably be selling. Getting Newsome in, probably not a bad decision for the Packers to add a cornerback in that room. Pretty good talent there. Pair him up with Jair. Eric Stokes is still the biggest question mark in the world, and I haven't seen enough good out of him to say that he is going to be that guy to stand across from Jair and be that number 2 corner. So I don't know what to expect out of him. So Newsome would be a possibility. I've also seen guys talking about, I don't think they're going to go get Myles Garrett, so I just want to kibosh that one right away. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, squash that one right away. We'll never give up a first round pick.
Like, I would love to get him. Don't get me wrong. I would love to get Myles Garrett, but I don't think it's going to happen, right? Another guy I could see, yes, Jacob just brought it up there, and that's who I was just about to go to, Zadarius Smith. I could see the Packers creating a reunion with Zadarius Smith. Now it's gonna come down to what are the Browns gonna want for Zadarius Smith? I don't think they're gonna want a lot. I think they're kind of in this mode to sell. But what's the market gonna look like for Zadarius Smith? Will they have the market for him? Will they want to give up the draft?
Like if we could give up like a 6th or 7th. Yeah.
Yes. The Packers are going to operate this like we expect them to. They're going to try and give away the least amount of things they can, so that way they can still have their draft capital. It's like the Lions right now. Everybody expects the Lions to go make this huge move now that Aiden Hutchinson's out. Would you want to see it as a Lions fan? Sure. But they're not going to, simply because they built this team from the draft. They love draft picks. They love building guys. I don't see them making a big move. I don't. Like, that's just where I'm at with the Lions. So that's kind of where I'm sitting with that Lions. The Packers, they love building through the draft too. Goody loves the draft. You can look at this roster right now, and you're like, where did all these guys come from? Outside of Xavier McKinney and a few others, the draft. So I just don't see I just don't see the Packers making a big splash. I could see them making a move, and I think they could. Newsome, I think they could get him for a little bit less. There's Zadarius Smith, I think they could. Maybe they try to move on from Preston Smith. Maybe they do bring Zadarius Smith back. Maybe they try to get rid of Preston Smith because that contract is just aging. Maybe they try to move on from him.
Oh.
Percentage-wise, the Packers making a move, I'm going to go with like 55 to 60. Like, I'm right in there. Like, could they make a move?
Wow.
You're all in, right? The window the window for the Packers it's open right now, right? It's open right now. You signed Jordan Love to this big contract. You only have these receivers for a certain amount of time. You only have some of these young guys on the defense and wherever it is for a certain amount of time. The window is open right now for the Packers. You either go all in with it or you just, you get to a point and you don't have that little bit extra to get you over the top, right? The run defense still scares me at times. Yes, in the second half, they slowed down Joe Mixon, but there was moments in that game where Joe Mixon was running wild against this team. We've watched the run defense through the years give us fits, and maybe it was Quay Walker going down that actually helped the run defense out because once you inserted Eric Wilson and you had Edgerrin Cooper, who I believe should be the Mike linebacker, and Quay Walker should be moved to more of the secondary linebacker for now because I love what I see at Edgerrin Cooper. But when those guys got inserted, everything looked better in the run with the run defense. So maybe I don't want to say a guy getting hurt was a blessing in disguise because it wasn't. I like Quay Walker. I just think he's got a lot of developing to do. I love where the Packers are at, where they have those extra linebackers like Edgerrin Cooper, who you kind of just throw in there. And Edgerrin Cooper looked fantastic, and he has looked fantastic. I actually want to see him more. And like I said, in that Mike linebacker spot, I like Edgerrin Cooper from here on out. Maybe he plays himself into that spot. I don't know. When Quay Walker does come back, I don't know how long he's going to be out, right? Concussions are so up in the air, iffy. You never know what the heck's going to come out of that there. But, if you're all in, I would love to see a move. I think they are all in, but it depends on what at the end of the day Goody thinks. In Goody we trust, right? In Goody we trust, and that's all we can go from there is in Goody we trust. Right? 100%. That's all we can believe. That Goody knows you have a good defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, who is, like you talked about early on, has put these 11 guys in great spots to succeed. And then you have Matt LaFleur calling an offense. Cool. Matt LaFleur can work with just about anybody, right? He's got Malik Willis in there and he's winning ball games, right? He knows he is a great play caller. Jeff Hafley has taken strides forward as a great defensive schemer and play caller. I love where the Packers are at. I could see them making a move. I'm skeptical of it because I don't know if they will or not. I could see the Packers, honestly. It depends how much you trust guys like Lucas Van Ness. I could see him unloading before I could see him loading up. Like, I could see him trying to move on from a contract like Preston Smith if they trust in a guy like Lucas Van Ness to be able to step in there and take that heavier workload there. That's where I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be definitely interesting to see what this Packer team does come towards that trade.
I've been hearing Preston Smith is going to be on the move.
He's an aging contract is the biggest thing.
I've been hearing he's been on the move, or he's going to be on the move. Yeah.
And you have guys in there who can jump in. They can kind of take over his role if you want to go that direction. So, it's not a bad move. I don't think it's a bad move.
You drafted one last year.
You're freeing up room. You're finding guys to bring in. You're getting draft picks back, right? And that's the big thing. I would not be opposed because Eggenbar has played some good minutes. He's played some good minutes. He's played some good snaps. He's done some good things for the Packers. He could fill into that void. You have Lucas Van Ness. You could see guys filling into that. So it's definitely, we're going to get more into the trade deadline here in the coming weeks here because it's getting closer and closer. Heck, we're almost in November. It's crazy how fast it's moving there. We're at this time of year where NFL's cooking, the World Series is happening. We have Bucks basketball back. We have Badger basketball right around the corner. We got college football. Like, this is madness time of year right now. But, Cody,
what a time to be alive.
Right? It's the only thing we can say that could top it would be March Madness. Like, March Madness would be the only thing that could probably top this time of year.
Oh,
I mean, it's close. It's close because you have opening day of baseball right around the corner. I mean, I heard from a sportscaster. He said that actually June and July are his favorite times of the year because that's when all the speculations happen between like NBA and NFL and everything like that. Like, that's when all the speculations are happening. So, and the trade deadline's in July, and you got all those, all those things happening at that time of the year. So he said that was his favorite time of the year. So, let's get into the Bucks. I want to talk Bucks because we have Bucks basketball coming up here tomorrow night. If you're listening to the podcast here on Wednesday, that means that Bucks basketball is tonight here against the 76ers, and we can't wait. I mean, it's an exciting time of year, right? Bucks basketball back. It's a new shot. See what Giannis Dame can do in year 2 together. Middleton, that's where I want to start. Nobody knows, right?
you want to start with Middleton?
Hasn't done anything yet in training camp. He's practiced a little bit, no 5-on-5s. I've heard he's maybe done a little bit of 3-on-3 work, but that's about it. Middleton will not be available for the first game out there against the 76ers. And then after that, I mean, they don't know if he's even going to be ready for the first game at home against the Bulls. So we're talking about at least 1 week without Middleton. Middleton's availability, it's not make or break for the Bucks. I don't think it's make or break for the Bucks. I think Middleton's availability in the playoffs is make or break for the Bucks. I think Middleton's availability in certain games throughout the season is make or break for the Bucks. But I think, honestly, what we're going to see out of Middleton this season is going to be close to what we see out of Joel Embiid, because we did see the story that Joel Embiid came out and he said he's going to play in some games, but he's not going to play a lot of games, right? And that's a problem with the load management. That's a whole different story that we're not going to get into right now. But Middleton's availability, I think, is going to be slim. I'm going to be honest with you right now. I think Middleton's going to play I'm going to speculate here. I wanted to go off of games possible that he's going to play. Like 55. Like, I could see him in a 50 to
maybe
55.
half.
I could see him 50 to 55. Like, right in that range.
More than half.
I know it's not what people want to hear, but the day and age of basketball is load management, being ready for the playoffs, as we heard Joel Embiid say for the Sixers there, right? So I think that's what they're going to do with Middleton. The NBA doesn't hold it against you. Middleton's not going for any big awards or anything. He would probably want one, right? But he's not going for any big awards. He just wants to be healthy for the postseason. That's what Embiid's doing right now. You got that with a bunch of different guys. So I think that's what Middleton's kind of going to be aiming towards here. And what the Bucks are going to do is what's best for Middleton and what's best for the playoff run that we're hoping the Bucks are going to go on. So I think it's going to be that 50 to 55 range there for Middleton. What are you thinking right now with all that, with me saying that? What are your projections for what Middleton's going to be available for this season?
I mean, if he's really going to be taking his health very seriously, like Joel Embiid, guys are going to have to step up. I mean, I'm expecting to see Beauchamp kind of taking a step into the next level, pretty soon here. I would like to see, I would like to see this Giannis and Dame combination work maybe a little bit better too, and if Middleton isn't going to be on the court that much, I'm seeing here he's 33. And I get that, you can play basketball until you're about 40. I mean, not many guys can do it. You're not LeBron James. But if he's really not going to be there consistently, and I love Chris Middleton. I do love Chris Middleton. Guy can shoot. He's a big piece of that champion. He was, and if he can't be there on a consistent basis anymore, I mean, if we can make a move to get if he can play 55 games a night, some team would take a chance on 55 games from Chris Middleton. I mean, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and if we could get a valuable piece in return, I mean, who's to say,
Yeah. No, I mean, It's always something that crosses every Bucks fan's mind when they think of Chris Middleton right now, because like you said, his availability, you never know. You never know if he's healthy, if he's not. He's coming back from surgery, double surgery, coming off this last offseason there. So we don't know what we're going to get out of Chris Middleton going into this season here. We haven't seen him much in training camp. So we don't know what to talk about here with Chris Middleton. We know that he's a great shooter. We know that he can shoot, right? We know he's deadly in the mid range, but can you have him on a consistent basis? That's going to be the biggest thing leading into the season for the Bucks. So it's something to keep an eye on there with that Chris Middleton availability. The one thing that you mentioned there that I think is big is Dame, Giannis having a seat. I think last season where we saw Dame and Giannis together for the first time, I think that was like a growing thing. Yeah, you know what? Dame didn't have a full off season with Giannis. He was trying to move himself. He was trying to get rid of, his personal life was trying to, work itself out. He didn't have that full off season with Giannis. And then he comes in and it just seemed like everything was kind of out of sorts at times. There wasn't a lot of team basketball going on. And, you had a coaching change after 40, I can't remember how many games it was there, but you had a coaching change from Adrian Griffin to Doc Rivers and everybody was confused. So now coming off the offseason, you've had an offseason now with Dame, with Giannis. They've been working together. You've had Middleton with them a little bit here. Brook Lopez, the whole team has been working together. Doc's been with them now for a full offseason here. He's been able to, work with them. I think it's going to come down to a lot with this Bucks team this season is going to have a lot more continuity. They're going to be a lot more in sync together. That's what we kind of missed last season there was it seemed like there was a lot of one-on-one basketball going on at times. Dame would try
Team
to take over the show. Yep,
Yeah,
Dame would
there's no
try
team
taking over the
basketball.
game, and then all of a sudden Giannis is trying to take over the game. They weren't working to their strong suit there, and that is Dame and Giannis in a pick and roll game is deadly. Dame and Brook Lopez in a pick and pop game is deadly, right? We went away from that at times, and it was Dame against the world, or it was Giannis against the world. And then you have freak injuries, right? Giannis gets hurt, and then we see Dame get hurt. Everything is just going sideways on us. Middleton's still out, and it was just like the season was just destined for what it ended like. So now you get back into this season here. You've had a full off season. Dame, Giannis, they're healthy. They're ready to rock and roll. You bring in some key pieces, right? And that's what I think is going to be the difference maker for the Bucks this season. Is you bring in a guy like Gary Trent Jr. And a lot of people they're like, oh, what does Gary Trent do for you? It's not going to be this big old move for any team. What Gary Trent does for me is he's Malik Beasley, but a better defender, right? And that's where what I think the Bucks needed in a secondary guard was Gary Trent stepping in and being that guy who can turn teams over. Because you look at what the Bucks struggled with last season there, and that was defense in general, right? They struggled on the defensive side in general last year. But Gary Trent is a guy who, I mean, he was up in the tops with turnover, or turning guys over in steals, right? Last season, he had in total for Toronto, he had 77 steals in total for Toronto. That's a huge number. That's a guy who can get after guys in that guard spot. You have guys around in the East, right? Tyrese Maxey, Tyrese Halliburton. You have a bunch of good guards. Donovan Mitchell. You cannot expect Damian Lillard to step out there and try to play defense on those guys because that's not his game. That's not Damian Lillard. I want him to be a better defender, but that's not Damian Lillard's game. Insert Gary Trent. Gary Trent can be that defender. He can be that guy for you. He can turn guys over. And then you have a guy like Delian Wright who steps in there. He's going to be your secondary guard to Damian Lillard, and he's going to possibly fill in for Gary Trent on the opposite side of that. But that's another guy who is a great defender, can get after guys. You love those two additions because they had defense. Something that the Bucks lacked was defense last year at the guard position, and also they add that depth on the bench, something that the Bucks lacked last year.
Yeah, I feel like that's always been kind of like our problem, though. I mean,
Yep.
when we had Drew Holiday, Drew, I mean, he could play some good defense, but like it was always like something was missing. Like if he was playing good defense, he wasn't playing good offense. If he was playing good offense, he wasn't playing good defense. Dame, you know what you're getting. You're getting 40. I mean, that's what that is. Dame is 40. That's a walking 40. But with that walking 40 comes the no defense aspect. So I do appreciate these moves by the Bucks front office to really assess a need for the team. Like all five have to be able to play every aspect of basketball.
Yeah.
And if they can't, shouldn't be on the court.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree there. And, you have your young pieces coming back too. I expect to see a little bit more of Andre Jackson Jr. this year. Ajax played well for the Bucks last season in short little spurts. I expect to see a little bit more out of him. Maybe a guy like AJ Green filling in too. He's a great shooter. You hope you can see a little bit out of him. I don't know what to expect out of Pat Connaughton. Last season was a struggle bus for Pat. Hopefully this season's a little bit of a step forward there. He can kind of get back to his shooting form. And then you got Brook Lopez manning the middle of that rotation there. Brook Lopez, to me, not a great defender. Can't step out on guys. But heck, he can still shoot the three ball. And I guess in today's NBA, that's something you need. You need guys who can shoot the three ball. So we live with
all
that.
you need. Yeah. All you need in this NBA. What are you talking about?
It is like no defense. We're just who can outshoot the other team. And that's sometimes what you need, I guess. That's sometimes what you need. I mean,
it works sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it works every once in a while. You had a guy, too, like Taurean Prince, right? And I still remember Taurean Prince when he was at, I believe Baylor. I want to say Baylor with him. Yes, he was at Baylor. They lost to Yale in the first round of the tournament. And Prince was sitting there up on the podium, and they're asking him questions. And the guy goes, well, Yale struggles with rebounding, but today they out-rebounded you guys, and you guys have a bigger team. How did you guys get out-rebounded by them? And he goes, well, they jumped up. They grabbed the ball. They came down with it. They got more of those than we did. And I was just like, I like this guy. Like, respect to this guy. So, I mean, Taurean Prince, off the court, funny guy. But on the court, you're talking about a guy who's a 39% three-point shooter. I mean, he's a great guy. Great guy. 39% three-point shooter last year. Career 37% three-point shooter there. He's a guy standing there at 6'6". He's a guy who can step in. He might actually step in for Chris Middleton while he's out. We don't know what's going to happen there, what the rotation is going to look like for Doc Rivers there. But we could see a guy like Taurean Prince step in there for Chris Middleton. He can shoot the three. He can defend a little bit. He's a decent enough rebounder. You look at his rebounds per game. I was just looking at his career total there. Let's see. Not showing me nothing. Let's look right here. Season average, rebounds, 3.6. About 3.6 rebounds per game on career average. So not a bad rebounder for being a 6'6" guy. He can still get in there, get the ball. I mean, he gets about 0.8 steals a game, so he's averaging about a steal a game. You like what you're seeing on the defensive end for him. He can shoot the basketball a little bit. Maybe he can fill in for Chris while he's out. You hope that so what we're getting at really in this grand scheme of things, we're hoping that the role players will play a bigger part in this year's team because last season we lacked in bench. Bench was the biggest thing that we lacked in. After we got through the starting five and Bobby, right? You could add Bobby into that mix. After you got through the starting five and Bobby, but Bobby was inserted in the starting lineup at times when Giannis was banged up. So technically you had no bench left after that. So now you have a bench to work with, which is something the Bucks have lacked. You need a bench when you go into the playoffs. You need to be able to go a little bit deeper, get some fresh legs out there at time that could still, the biggest thing was we could throw fresh legs after fresh legs, but the question was, can we get the offense with this rotation? Can we get offense out of Ajax and AJ Green? And last year it was Cam Payne in there too. It was a big old number. Like we couldn't find a way to get any kind of offense out of those guys. So this season you have a little bit of offense there coming off that bench. That's going to be huge for this Bucks team. So I can't wait to see that out of the Bucks there. You did mention Damian Lillard before. I don't know if it's just me, but I want to see Dame be a little bit more efficient and consistent on this season. Last year, we talked about the offseason with him, getting into the swing of things and, he had this out of basketball stuff with him there. He was actually down from his career totals, right? He actually shot just 42.4% from the field, his lowest in a full season since 2015. And he actually shot 35.4% from three, his lowest in a full season since 2014. So those are two stats there. Yes, I'm digging deep into the bag of tricks there, but you've seen this guy progress throughout the years. I'm hoping he's not on the downswing of his career when you look at those kinds of stats, like he's slowly trickling back down. I don't think that he is. I just want to see a little bit more of consistency out of it, because I'm not saying that, we have to like completely blow up about this. Like it's not like it's do or die, right? I'm not saying that Dame was a terrible player last year and he was a terrible shooter, because those numbers aren't bad, right? But they're below the career averages. So I guess what I'm saying is Dame get back to Dame. I want to see Dame be Dame, right? I was waiting so many times last year for Dame time, right? That's all we heard about when he was coming from Portland was it's Dame time now. Like
Yeah.
we're ready for Dame time. And he had moments, but I want to see moments on top of moments, right? I want to see a pick and roll game with him and Giannis where Dame's just going off and then he's dishing to Giannis. And this
Ugh.
team just looks like they're flowing like one continuous unit because you watch the Celtics. The thing I love about the Celtics, Tatum can have a great game. Jaylen Brown could be off. Brown could have a great game. He's dishing to Tatum. Tatum's, having a good game, but he's still getting Brown his, right? And you have Porzingis mixed in there. These guys are spreading the ball around like it's no other, and that's what made the Celtics successful. Was they had a lot of playmakers, but they utilized them all to their strengths. The Bucks need to do that because they have a lot of playmakers. They have guys who can shoot. They have guys who can get underneath the glass and they can throw the hammer down. They have different guys who can do different things. I want to see the Bucks utilize them all to their full talent this season here. So, I mean, any last things you got with the Bucks here?
Ugh. I mean, what you just said about the pick and roll. I mean, that was going into this whole Dame and Giannis thing. I mean, that was one of my best friends he's a Portland Trailblazers fan. He got to watch. He's been watching Dame. I mean, since Dame's been there, and when Dame got traded to Milwaukee, he was like, "Oh, dude, the pick and roll with Giannis is gonna go crazy." I mean, did you really ever recall even seeing it last year? Like, I mean, I felt like it just wasn't even in the playbook. Like
No.
it would be the most dominant play in basketball.
Yep.
And I mean, granted, I never played a single organized game of basketball in my life. I mean, from what I've seen, that's the most dominant player in basketball history with one of the greatest shooters of all time. I mean, how does it not work?
Yep. No, I agree with you. I agree with you there. And I'm hoping that a little bit of an off season together, a little bit more continuity together. These guys kind of get the feel for each other, and it's just one of those seasons. It's just one of those seasons we're going to be talking about for a while. So we can't wait to get Bucks basketball underway. It's going to be tomorrow night there. Bucks 76ers. Paul George and Joel Embiid are both out for the Sixers, so we're not really getting a full taste of the Sixers on opening night there. But for the Bucks, Middleton will be out for that game. Giannis says game time decision. I think Giannis is going to play, no doubt. So Bucks should be basically at full strength without Middleton there. And then we will see the 76ers without Paul George, without Joel Embiid, not really getting what we want to see out of the Sixers, and that is what the heck we're up against, right? Because this is a pretty good Eastern Conference now. Knicks, they had Karl Anthony Towns. We got the Celtics still there. Sixers, they had Paul George. I mean, there's some pretty good teams in the East, and we're going to be definitely talking more about this Eastern Conference and everything like that on future shows and, whenever we get to them there. So, with that, Cody, anything else we got here before we wrap it up for the night here? Anything else you got off the top of your head?
Let's talk about the Monday night game last night. What did you think of it? Did you end up catching that?
Monday night game. Buccaneers.
The Monday night game last night? It was
the Buccaneers game
Ravens
or the other one?
and Buccaneers. Yep.
Yes, I did.
Ravens and Buccaneers.
Yes, I did. The interview after it there, what the heck is the Buccaneers head coach's name? I can't remember it off the top of my head now.
I don't know it either.
What the heck is his name here? What the heck is his name? Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles. They're interviewing him after the game there, Todd Bowles. And one of the questions to him was about Chris Godwin and why Godwin was out there, because there was only a minute 30 some left in the game when Godwin got hurt. And they're like, well, why is he out there? It's 10-point game, right? You're a touchdown and an onside kick away from making this thing a ball game. Now, if it's a 20-some point game, pull him out. He shouldn't be in there. But what you're basically asking, what this reporter kept going on with Todd Bowles about, what I thought was completely ridiculous, was, okay, if you don't want Chris Godwin out there, why is Baker Mayfield on the field? Why is the offensive line out there? Why are any of your receivers on the field right now? It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense at all. Now, if there was some, I didn't see if Godwin came into the game with, because he dislocated his ankle, right? That's what happened there. Was he had a dislocated ankle? I believe it was something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head. See, now I'm trying to.
I do not. I don't. Yeah, I know. Me neither. Now I'm trying to dig too. Yeah,
Let's see.
asking me
He had a
questions
dislocated
now.
ankle. He's going to undergo surgery on a dislocated ankle later this week. So you're okay. So I mean, dislocated ankle. That's something that's like not really common. Like you don't Achilles, okay, yeah, ACL, MCL, yeah, something in the shoulder, okay, maybe a rib, something in his ribs, okay, yeah. Dislocated ankle, like that's not an injury that you just hear of every single day. So,
That
I
just
mean,
happens. Yeah,
that's
it
what
just
happened.
happens.
That was a
Yeah.
stupid question that the reporter asked, and not I guess not a stupid question. It would have been rephrase it maybe a little bit better. Like, do you regret having Godwin out there because maybe he had this undisclosed injury leading up into the game where this might have led to this? Oh, okay, yeah, like maybe something different than how he stated was basically saying why was he out there? Well, just a dumb question. Just a dumb question. I mean, the Ravens are a great team. The Ravens are a great team. That's a dangerous team. They figured out that Derrick Henry can run a football after the first couple games, and then they're like, oh, well, we can actually win games now. Okay.
Well,
So
how
I
about
mean,
Lamar Jackson throwing for 5 touchdowns? So
that's a
I
dangerous
feel
team.
like that's crazy. To me, I feel like Lamar Jackson is the. I mean, you compare him to Michael Vick. There's only two in my eyes. There's only two of the greatest runners and throwers of the football of all time, and it's be able to
That is
throw for
one
5
heck of a
touchdowns and
dangerous
still
team.
use your legs.
Yep. No, I agree. That is a heck
The
of a
cheat
dangerous
code.
team. I don't take a lot from the Bucks didn't play a terrible game. Baker didn't have a good game. That's what happened there. I mean, they had a drive late there, I believe, in the first half where he ended up throwing an interception in the end zone. Bad decision by Baker. He threw another interception when he was trying to hit Godwin on a crosser. There was 3 guys there. Not a great
He threw
decision.
two. Didn't he throw 2 on back-to-back drives to Marlon
Yeah,
Humphrey?
within 3
Wasn't it?
plays. Within 3 plays, he
I
threw 2
believe.
picks.
Yeah.
I believe Humphrey picked him off twice. So Humphrey was
Yeah,
his worst.
twice, and then
I mean, I'm not giving up on the Bucks. I think that this is definitely going to make them take a step back because Mike Evans gets hurt in that game. Godwin gets hurt in that game. You lost your very good wide receivers down there. So it's definitely going to take them a step back. It's going to take a lot more from this Bucks team to be able to figure it out. The Ravens, they've solidified themselves to be a top contender to the Chiefs because I say the Chiefs are number 1, but because until somebody proves me wrong, they're the number 1 team. Like, they won 2 Super Bowls in a row. All you have to do is get Patrick Mahomes into the playoffs, and Patrick Mahomes is going to take whatever wide receivers you give them, and somehow they're going to catch passes and be just nightmares in the playoffs. So until the Chiefs get knocked off, they run the AFC. Like that's just how it is. Yes, I know that Mahomes has got 8 interceptions on the season, and the offense isn't great, but I tell you what, take Patrick Mahomes off that team. Tell me what their record is. Probably 2 wins. Maybe
they're
2 wins.
terrible.
Yes.
They are not 6-0. They are not 6-0.
No.
Yeah.
No. This is no Tyreek Hill.
He's the greatest. He's the greatest quarterback in the NFL. Yes.
Yes, 100%.
Yes,
so
he's the greatest. Yes.
I mean, I took away from that game that the Chiefs are not. I'm thinking about the Chiefs now. The Buccaneers, I'm not freaking out yet, but they got to get Mike Evans back and healthy, right? They got to get Mike Evans back and healthy. Maybe make a Mike Williams kind of trade. And then for the Ravens, I mean, that's a good football team. That's a good football team all the way around. I could see the Chiefs too.
They're going to be a tough out.
They will be. And I could see the Chiefs being a team that also targets Mike Williams because the Jets made him available. The Chiefs, I think, will take a shot on a guy like Mike Williams because you pair him with Patrick Mahomes, he's going to be a dang good he's going to be a dang good wide receiver for him there. So, I mean, it was some good Monday Night Football games. Not great. I think the Buccaneers one was trending towards great.
Yeah.
And then
I like it went to a blowout quickly, and then the Ravens kind of plateaued for a bit, and then the Bucks were like, "Hey, we're still here," but it just wasn't enough. They missed that 2-point conversion at the end. I was like, "Oh no, you got to be kidding me!" I just broke my heart because I kind of wanted to see Baker come back because I mean, that story about Baker, right? Don't you?
Oh yeah, Baker's
of
had
his
his own
his
kind
parents.
of
Oh, that's just terrible. So,
you cheer
nothing.
for a
I just
guy
hope
like
nothing
that.
but good things for that man.
Yep.
Yeah,
No, I agree.
that's just
I agree. You cheer for a guy like that there. So, Cody,
yeah.
before we get out of
Oh,
here, any last
yeah,
things
for
to wrap us
sure.
up there? Any last things?
All right, all right. My final. I had a hot take today. I was thinking about it. Chiefs play the Raiders in Oakland this week, or Los Angeles. They play in Los Angeles this week. I think the Raiders end the Chiefs' undefeated season
The
this
Raiders have
weekend.
always Max Crosby has always been that guy for Patrick Mahomes that fires them up a little bit more there. So I don't know if Max Crosby plays and he wakes up that bad guy and Patrick Mahomes, he might slice and dice him. I don't know. He could. Patrick Mahomes might slice and dice him again. I don't know.
I know, but Max Crosby always seems to have his number though. I always feel like if there's that one team in because what, they're the AFC West.
Yeah.
Yeah, AFC West. Yeah, that's that one team that always seems to just give Mahomes a little fit every year. They always get their one. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's I would say the Chiefs are on upset watch this week. That's my final comment. Thank you again, Trajan, for having me on here. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
It was an honor. It was a blessing.
Yeah, it was a great show. Great show. Cody is going to have his fantasy picks coming out on Friday on the show there, the preview show. He's going to have his boomer bust. So we're going to debut that on Friday. We're going to get him on here. We're going to have Hunter's takes on Wisconsin hockey leading up into the weekend there. We're going to have lots to get into on Friday. Aaron's going to be back. He is going to be all about Penn State. So I'm going to be all about the Badgers. We're going to be going at it here on the show. Badgers Penn State preview coming up on Friday. We got the Packers preview for versus Jacksonville on Friday there. We're probably going to talk Bucks, NBA. We're going to be all over the place. So with that, for Cody and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. Thank you guys for tuning in. We hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. But until we talk to you guys again on Friday, see ya.